Welcome back to the Pot of Gold podcast, everyone. This is the show for working parents chasing freedom, building wealth, and creating a legacy through entrepreneurship. Today we're joined by Erin Pericelli, a real estate investor who's redefining what it means to provide affordable housing. Erin specializes in buy and hold properties with a focus on co-living, also known as rent by the room, a strategy that not only increases cash flow, but meets a real community need. With a background in mortgages, construction, and sales, Erin's path into investing was a natural evolution. Outside of real estate, she's a group fitness instructor and runs a wellness business, providing that building a portfolio and living a balanced life can go hand in hand. If you've been waiting for a sign that it's possible to blend passion, purpose, and profit, this episode is it. Erin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. That was a great introduction.
Well, we try. I definitely stumbled over a little bit, but put in the reps so that we can get better,
That's right. More practice.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about your story. That's what I always like to start with when I interview people on the show is what was your background like and what led you to deciding on real estate investing as your path forward?
Gosh, I've had a few different changes in my career. I started out, honestly, when I went to college, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a high school math teacher specifically. And I don't remember whether I was in junior or a sophomore. And one of my friend's dads pulled me aside and was like, you cannot do this. The school system is terrible. As a woman, you are going to be abused by teenagers. You have got to change your major. And apparently, whatever impact he had on me, I immediately changed my major.
Well, that's interesting. I like the acronym MATH as mental abuse to humans.
See, I liked math and I was good at to a point until we got into the computer science stuff. And then that's when it kind of lost me.
Got it.
I was not good with that kind of stuff. So
but I like math too.
And then we have to do it in real estate, right? There's no way around it. So I changed my major. Ended up being a geography and math major, which is pretty much worthless. So I just paid for having the 4-year degree. And luckily I did because I ended up worked at a mortgage company for 10 years, right before everything collapsed. I was at kind of a subprime lender called IndyMac Bank when things were going downhill. My dad was a banker, so I grew up with him, in a small town where they would pretty much sit down on a board meeting and look through the person's file, and usually they knew them and go through whether a loan. Here we were doing loans with no income, no asset verification, and it was all.
Oh, okay. Is this like around the same time as the 2008 crash? Because that's basically what was going on before.
Because that's what was going on.
Okay.
And we were so busy underwriting loans that I live in Georgia and my family's in Pennsylvania. I would take loans in my suitcase to Pennsylvania to underwrite them because they were paying us overtime to do so. Because it was so busy. But then we just knew what was coming. There was no way that the economy could sustain what was going. There was a lot of fraud, and you eventually started to see it. So when that collapsed, I went into medical equipment sales, which I really enjoyed, being out on my own, having the freedom, not being stuck in an office, not doing the 9 to 5. And that kind of was an indication to me that I needed to go more on that pathway. So I was driving a lot doing that job. So transitioned to where I lived, the north side of town, and got into construction because I also still like math. And most people think, well, you're a woman, that's why you're working at a construction company. So you're the designer. I got all the time. I'm like, no, I'm the estimator. I love doing the math and measuring and doing the numbers. And I liked figuring out how to make, a new kitchen work or, do a basement from scratch. So loved that business and eventually started my own, but didn't have anyone to guide me on how to run a business. So I was doing the accounting, which I'm not great at. I think it was all on paper. It was horrible. I was doing the accounting, doing the marketing, doing the sales, doing the estimating, doing the project managing. And it just became so overwhelming. Honestly, I didn't need to work at the time. My husband was not very encouraging to do just quit, just don't do it. So I ended up getting away from it. And then, I wasn't in the healthiest of marriages. So I was looking to find myself. I taught at multiple gyms for many years. So I went back to Lifetime Fitness where I had taught for years and ended up meeting a few people that just were obviously put in my path for a reason. One led me back to church. One led me to a Tony Robbins event. And with those things, I kind of realized how unhappy I was. So at the same time I did the Tony Robbins event, I signed up for the Women's Real Estate Investing Network Mastermind. And I thought, okay, what can I do with my sales, construction, mortgage background? Well, it looks like real estate investing is right up my alley. And I even compared being a real estate agent, but I like the idea of dealing more with the houses than the people.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, my business coach Dan Martell, he says business would be easy if it wasn't for people.
Isn't that true? I mean, just in partnerships now, we were squad up together, and our business was transitioning. My business partner's opposite personality on the spectrum, which is great for business, but it has caused us to stretch and grow a lot as far as how we communicate and trying to take other people's perspective into consideration.
Like that. It's easy to forget that people do have different perspectives. They get to see things from different angles, and their experiences define things. And unless you're actively trying to be aware of it, you're often not.
Yes. And, my partner's an attorney. She's very analytical. She's got to write leases and documents every day for a living. And I just don't see them the same way that she does. I mean, we've looked at the same thing. And then I'm the easygoing, sure, whatever, it's fine, let's do it. That's a period, there's a T, there's no comma, it's fine. So it's quite the opposite. So it has, we've had to have multiple conversations about how, I get very excited and I'm like a bulldozer. I get excited about something like I did, when we started the wellness business, and then I just run over people with it. And I can be very overwhelming. So we had to have a conversation like, Erin, what do I do? Or what do I say to you when you're in this type of heightened excitement and, you can't see anything else besides this. So it's been, a great learning experience. And, we were both in Reen, but then we ended up meeting in Jesse's mentorship when he had REI Volt last year. So that's how we crossed paths, and both were, I lived in Georgia, and at the time it was, the big talk were pad splits in Atlanta at the time. So that's why, I was attracted to Xana, and she's like, send me all these houses. You live there, you can go see them. And they were all in terrible, terrible parts of town. I was like, I'm not going anywhere near any of these places.
Not even during the day.
Yeah. And I used to work in some of these areas when I did medical sales. So I'm like, I know firsthand, you don't even stop and get gas at noon.
No, I've been in a couple areas like that. I served a mission for my church in Puerto Rico, and there are a couple places you just don't go.
Right, everywhere. So these are some of those areas. I'm like, I'm not really interested in doing a 12-room boarding house in the ghetto. Let's find another way to help people that, is maybe not, no, I don't want to be the one to go there. So we're still looking here for properties to do pad split in Atlanta. And as we do that, we have another partner that I started investing with in Macon. So I was the private money lender for him on a few deals. So he's now our third business partner in Macon, and we're under contract for our 9th house in Macon. So we started investing there on a smaller scale at first, and it's a great area for buy and holds. We've got Section 8 group home, co-living, dormitory housing, just a lot of different things going on all in one city.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that you've kind of touched on the fact that you had to learn communication skills with your partner, because one of the things that I like to ask people when they come on the show is, what kind of problems did you run into, and how did you get around those problems? So I'm assuming that communication was one of those issues. Were there anything else that kind of stood in the way of being able to perform? Or
so many problems. I mean, that's just the life of this business.
Yeah.
When we started out, so my business partner that I lent money to in Macon bought 3 houses at one point. I was the lender and kind of went through the whole process with him. So we figured, let's team up. Let's just buy 3 houses. We got in contact with an agent who works in the area, and she teamed us up with a lender or a broker. The broker just kept reassuring us everything was great. We're good to go. No problem. We're going to close. So we're a couple days before closing, and I get an email saying, we do not want to lend to these 2 women. They do not have enough experience. And I was like, I don't think this email was supposed to be for me. So at the last minute,
okay, I got it.
Instead of sue the broker, I'm like, and then I reached out to her. I'm like, I think this was for you. Good to know. You told us everything was fine. So we hurried and found another lender that Xana had heard, through Reen or on a podcast or something. Call her. She's all eager to help us. We get her everything we need. Well, in the meantime, I was a party to a fractional lending deal on a mobile home park that ended up being a scam.
Okay.
So The person they bought it from turned around, took the property back. They had found he had done it 5 or 6 times in other areas across the United States. He was a professional scammer. So meantime, he had a clause in the contract that if they shut the mobile home park down for any reason, he gets the park back. Well, they basically put a Band-Aid on a sewer issue. They had fake documentation that the borrowers didn't know about, and the sewage overflowed, so they had to shut down the mobile home park. So then he, by default, took the mobile home because he knew this was going to happen, right? So then my company name shows up as party to a foreclosure as we're in the process of getting a loan to buy properties. So I think
a rough one.
Maybe which it was taken off, but not for a month. The property was in like Louisiana. We had to snail mail things back and forth. It just was a process. So, in the last hour again, here we are stuck with no lender. And I'm usually a pretty calm personality. So I learned real fast that my business partner is not. So just, something that we had to learn very quickly about how each person handles intense stress at the last hour and what that was going to look like, right? So it turns out that I'm very good at calming other people down, but then it takes me like 24 hours, I think, before everything hits me. And then, I'll like have a cry or something. So we went through quite a few of those and then just learned, okay, and then we learned how we handle contact. Like I deal with the lender, like I'm the first point of contact for the lender. Zen is the first point of contact for contracts. I'm the first point of contact, for our contractor, another area where things tend to go wrong because I just, because I've been in a contractor, it's just, you always know there's going to be something that goes wrong and you just learn to, okay, how do we fix it? And then I'm also good at finding a solution before presenting the problem. Hey, by the way, we have an issue. This isn't going to work, but I've got plans B, C, and D, which usually helps,
present
people
solutions
down.
Instead of just problems.
Just freaking out.
That's really cool. So there's this scam that happened with the mobile home park. Did you learn how to identify something like that in the future or like what was the lesson with that?
Well, I was only the lender.
Okay.
So I think my friends that borrowed learned a ton, and they actually brought someone in to investigate and help them after. And luckily, they're a stellar borrower. They put my note onto another property, even though they lost a bunch of money on that. They're making their lenders whole, which is huge.
That's really good. Yeah. I think
there's a lot of that not happening.
It's not emphasized enough is that if you treat your lenders right, they'll come back and they'll be a consistent source of capital for you. But if you don't, well, then you're burning bridges.
So much. And I'm seeing the bridges burned all over town. My partner's in a couple deals that have gone bad. I have a deal that's taking longer than we had expected and the communication was rough. So I kind of demanded that we get on a Zoom and then we all had to talk. I'm like, this is all we had to do. All you got to do is tell us, just communicate. We're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We understand there's a problem. As long as you're still paying us every month, that's, or if we need to take a break, let's just talk it out and put the documentation in place to make sure everybody's covered.
Yeah, I like that. I had a friend who's a transactional coordinator that talked about how one of the things they do when loans are late is that they restructure things as a new loan with the amount that they were supposed to be paid on the new loan. And so say they lent out $50,000 and they were expecting $10,000 back and the person's late. Well, then they go back and they negotiate it and say, okay, let's do a new loan for $60,000 with a new return and we can make it into an extension. Or they get the $10,000 up front and then they restructure it for $50,000 again. And just there's different things you can do, but you have to be able to talk to people in order to do things like
Yes, just all the communication. I had another deal that they went to refinance and the property didn't, things have shifted in the industry in the past year, the housing industry. So the equity wasn't there to pay us off. So they extended, we did like new terms. Okay, let's do it was a 6-month term. So at that point we did for another year. They refinanced, me and another lender stayed in and we just set up a new contract, like you said, for the next year.
Yep. Very cool. That's really awesome. Some of the lessons you've kind of brought to the show today. I really appreciate that. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is what do you expect the future of your business to look like? What are you aiming at?
Gosh, we have changed so much lately. That's the million-dollar question, right? In the past year, we've hired a virtual assistant. She has helped us a ton. our acquisitions manager, we've entitled it Bob, who lives in Macon, he's handling us getting the properties, he's handling all the construction, and he's handling managing the people in them. And our VA is helping mostly with helping us get people into the properties.
Okay. So she's like helping you put tenants in?
Yes. Which was a learning curve for us there. My manager and I had not managed somebody before, especially not virtually, especially not someone who doesn't really understand the real estate industry. When we say things like Section 8 and Sub 2 and co-living, it's like speaking Chinese to her. It's really a whole nother world. So understanding like the length of time it would take, how to manage a person. And then luckily she is through a staffing service of a lady who's another mentor. So she has helped us kind of gauge how to communicate, and she's taught us a lot. It's been almost like a mentorship having, that in our business. We've learned so much.
That's very cool.
And then recently we're looking for some ops help, which we had discussed with you.
Yeah.
And
how's that going?
We actually met a guy at Squad Up who's going to help us get GoHighLevel in place.
Okay, very cool.
And he's going to be more of a person that kind of, I'm my own bubble, Xana's her own bubble, and then Bob's his own bubble, and none of those bubbles communicate. So if one of us gets sick or goes on vacation, there's a third of a gap of our business. So we're like, how do we take
makes sense
and put all of this in a place where it can communicate and talk to each other? So, we're not the people that were like, let's spend all the time finding a CRM when we got in, but now we're in it and we need a CRM just to keep it all organized.
Yeah, and that's actually something I wanted to kind of go over for the audience in case they don't understand. A CRM is a customer relationships management software, and GoHighLevel is a type of that. It also helps with other things like project management, pipeline and flow of clients to properties, all kinds of things, but it's all done digitally through computer software so that you can keep track of everything in your business a lot easier. So that's really cool that he's going to be able to help you set that kind of stuff.
Yes. And what's nice with that is we can have like one line of it is our real estate business, and then we have a supplement network marketing business. So we have a ton of clients, new customers, old customers, associates, that we can kind of track on a separate arm in there as well. And luckily it is like an online boutique, so we don't have inventory and we can kind of track some of that, but still just, I'm reaching out to 20 to 50 people a week and just kind of keeping track of where all that is a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's more than you can really manage with all those loose leaf papers all over the desk and stuff.
And I love the loose leaf papers. I have them all around me.
Well, you're in good company then, I guess. I'm constantly picking up everything. It's like, okay, that time of the week again, I got to organize the desk again because it's getting out of hand.
Yes, it just looks clean and nice from here up.
Yep.
It's organized, but it's like my piles of things for sure.
Yeah, I know where that one is, I think. Where did I put it? All right, well, cool. How can people manage to get in touch with you, Erin?
I am on all the socials, but I probably go to Facebook the most often because, 50 and that's what we do. It's a little more comfortable for me, but I'm on Instagram as well.
Okay. I will go ahead and make sure that we get your social media handles specifically and put them in the YouTube description. So if anyone wants to connect with Erin, make sure you check there. Also, like she said, emphasis on connecting via Facebook. Is there by any chance any kind of resources or recommendations for educational material that you would recommend to people who are just getting started as an entrepreneur or as a real estate investor?
Well, we're always here to help new investors. I spoke with a lady the other day who mentioned she had only put like a small amount into a fractional loan, and she felt like she was behind after talking to me. And I was like, this is a great, safe way to learn real estate because there's so many private money lending deals of larger amounts that have gone bad right now. Just be glad that you're going to get a return. You have a little bit of ownership and you're learning along the way. So we're here for other new investors that feel stuck or maybe feel like they're not doing what they should or they're behind, and we're here to help, people can ride along with us and watch what we're doing in the co-living space or in Macon with questions with a couple different things going on. And then in our wellness business, we're always looking to help people. I'm of that age of the, scary menopause word. And just a lot of times at this age, women are starting to like not move as much and not feel as good. And, we're here to let you know that it doesn't have to be that way. So if women or anybody's wanting help with clean holistic supplements or looking to maybe lose a little weight or get more active, we do things from very basic to helping structured meal plans and structured workouts.
Amazing. Well, that's really cool. And how would somebody manage to connect with you for something like that?
My email is just my name, Erin Pericelli at Gmail.
Okay.
Or you can always message me in socials, Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome. And I'm sure people manage to do that. I'll make sure to include the resources in the YouTube description as well. And well, awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we end the interview today?
Just keep moving forward. Just keep working on yourself. That's probably the most important thing of this whole business. I didn't realize what a mindset journey real estate and the supplement business was going to be, with a great community of people helping each other. So not only have I created several businesses with my partner, but also have grown so much from what I've learned about myself and what I've learned about mindset, and the community is really what makes it. It doesn't feel like work. Yeah. I just spoke to somebody that was in China helping me underwrite a deal, and we're like, this is great because you can do it from wherever you want and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing, modern day life. I was reading something about infinite banking yesterday, and they mentioned a statistic, which was that if you make over $33,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of earners worldwide. And I was like, wow, something really to consider. We talked about perspective a little bit earlier in the show.
That's a hell of a perspective.
That's it, right? Wow. Why not be grateful for all the abundance that we get to enjoy as Americans? That's just an incredible thing. You might feel like you're behind, but you're a lot farther ahead than a good majority of the planet. And so be grateful for what you have.
There's always something to be thankful for in every day.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Erin. And thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. This has been the Pot of Gold podcast, and we talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. Take care now.
Thanks. Bye, Nathaniel.